Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished speakers and all webinar participants. It's such an honor for me to speak in this wonderful webinar. So I was assigned by Pak Deputy to speak in this webinar. And I think according to the committee requested to our office to deliver these topics, is about the outlook of the nickel supply to fulfill the demand for the EV, the electric vehicles. So I think this is a quite interesting topics. Recently, this is a trending topics for the nationally as well as global topics because of the energy transition in the world that request some transition by utilization the more cleaner energy. So I think I can start for this. My second slide I will deliver by divide into 6 section of my presentation. In the space section, I would like to share about how the global nickel market, according to several institution trajectories. And then the second part, I will try to show you and to deliver about the nickel value chain in Indonesia, how about the current situation, and about how about the opportunity to fill the niches of the part of the value chain of the nickel market in Indonesia. So, and then the third one is how about the one, this is the main topic according to the committee requested to me, is about the Indonesia nickel ore resource and reserve as a guarantee for the supply, the sustainable supply to feed the smelter industry that established in Indonesia. So the next is about how about the impact of the nickel downstream in Indonesia, particularly for the economics of Indonesia. We can elaborate this one. And then the other important section is about how about the government support to endorse, to encourage the nickel downstream. And the final section, I will deliver to all of you about the conclusion of this topic. So let's start for the global nickel outlook. So I think this is the common situation about the what we call the super cycle trend. As we know that the commodity super cycle is a long period of higher commodity price compared to its long-term trend. So I think we have pass about 4 phases of the super cycle. The last super cycle is start from the 1996 when the industrialization started in China and other developing countries, where a lot of the commodities such as metal and fuel utilized by them to endorse the economic development. And then according to the current situation, we will face the next super cycle. Then we think that we will be started recently, that because of the current situation of this situation that requires the energy transition, that because this global request some energy transition for utilize more the clean energy and also the to utilize the more environmental friendly devices and something. So according to the pathway from the 1997 Kyoto Protocol until the Paris Agreement in 2015, we are now facing to more cleaner situation than according to the data of 2019, that already 2 million units of electric vehicle already distributed all around the world. So I think it's very reasonable justification that we are now entering the pace of the next super cycle. So I think this is it's a very advantageous moment for Indonesia, that because the next super cycle need a lot of base metal to support the renewable energy and its devices to utilize for that, such as nickel, as we can discuss in this session. So according to some trajectories from many institutions, such as Deloitte analysis, that we can see the EV sales as predicted to increase until 2030. So I think on 2030, the volume of the electric vehicle will achieve around 31.1 million, and then from that, 81% is coming from the battery electric vehicle. And then for the 2030, according to this trajectory, that's the electric vehicle will control is around 32% of total the market sales. So, and then China will lead and will be the largest market of that share in the world with around 49%. So that because the amount of the electric vehicle will increase significantly, so they will need some parts. The main part will be coming from the battery. So I think following the increasing of the electric vehicles, so the demand for the battery will be increased similarly. So I think according to the 5 types of the batteries, such as NCM, NCA, LCO, LMO, and LEV, it will be can be utilized for fulfill the electric vehicle. And we think according to the energy density in the market for the battery, the utilization of the nickel is very important to make a good energy storage. So the average amount of the nickel per car, for the example, can increase from 20 kilogram to 40 until 50 gram in 2025. But it depends on the absorption of the type of battery. But I think the NCM will be dominated the type of the battery for the to provide the electric vehicle. So according to that request, the battery demand market, so it will be estimated that there will be about 490 kiloton nickel needed in 2025, is around 1.1 million ton nickel in 2030. It means that the market for the nickel is still huge. And we can see here how about the domestic and global battery market outlook according to some trajectory from the Ministry of State-Owned Enterprise, Ministry of BUMN. According to their trajectory, and then some parameters that being the consideration for the trajectory, in 2029 and 2030 is around 8 until 10 gigawatts demand growth for the electricity, for the demand, for the battery demand. And total in global ones, we will achieve around more than 700 gigawatt hour in the global market. So I think it will be achieved in 2030. So that will be a pack, the demand in the long term. We can see here that from the data gather, the nickel needs will increase around 4 million in 2040. It will be multiplied double from 2020, whereas this on 2040, the composition for the battery will be achieved on 30%. It means that on 2040, the demand from the battery sector will increase about 1.2 million tons of nickel. It means that the demand market for nickel will be increased significantly. that's the point. The first section is about the nickel market.
Dr. Bagus, we have limited time, so maybe I ask to speed up slightly.
Okay, and then second is we can see the value chain of the nickel in Indonesia. We can see here the blue one is already established in Indonesia, and the green boxes is about the facilitate that still under development, and the red one still not development yet, not available in Indonesia. I think the red one will be the opportunity for some parties to invest in Indonesia. So according to the current situation, the nickel smelter data overview, we will have around 65 nickel smelter in the next future, and the current smelter operating is about 25 smelters, and we hope then until 2024 we will have 65 smelters, that whereas the total investment is around 30 billion. If the whole smelter are operating, so the total ore needed is around 132 million ton per year for the Saproa one, and then 132 million ton per year ore needed. So the total production will be 26 million ton, the capacity of the whole smelter that will be established in Indonesia. So I think this is the composition of the product from the smelters that will be established in Indonesia, whereas the NPI and the ferronickel and also stainless steel will be dominated the derivative product from the smelter in Indonesia. So for the contribution to the global market for the nickel, so Indonesia will be dominated for the NPI product that will be increased sharply from 28% in 2020 until 50% trajectory on 2025. I think it will be a very significant contribution to the global nickel market. And then one of the most important smelter that we can start to operating is the ESPA project for utilize the product to support the battery industries. Now we will have 6 smelter industry that operate by the ESPA method. And then in the current future, the nearest one will be the PT Halmahera. Obi Island will be COD in 2021. And the whole 6 smelter already spent about $6 billion USD for the total investment, and it's about 28 ore will be needed for fulfill the whole 6 smelter. But according to lesson learned from the other project of ESPA, it will be a very tough challenge to the ESPA project. According to the current situation in the ESPA projects in the world or around the world, from the 11 of the ESPA project, only 2 succeed. Some challenges depends on the one of the challenges is the large of the capex is even greater than the RCAP one, and the other one is we also face the top challenge for the ESPA project is about the environmental impact on the slurry. So we have problem how to manage the waste the waste from the slurry from the ESPA, because if we use the deep sea tailing placement, we have problem with the pollute to the ocean that make a pollution to the biodiversity. That's the one problem. But if we construct the tailing dam, but we have other potential for some accident, especially due to the landslide or the earthquake. But the other hand, if we use the dry stacking, we also the smelter also, or the investor also face the high cost of the waste management. But in the other hand, the air cap or the blast furnace normally utilized in Indonesia, they use the coal firing for the power generation. They also put some footprint for the carbon in that product. So we think that according to this data that the NPI can produce some carbon footprint in the product for the NPI product. So the next slide is if we use the things to support the battery industry, we also have another option, another alternative to convert the ferronickel or the NPI by convert to this battery material. So I think it's one of the options that we are still thinking or discussing about this one to mitigate if the ESPA project is have problem with the waste management. So in the third section, I will discuss about the current situation of the nickel ore reserve and resource. How about the situation? We are the nickel champion in the world from the resource. We have around 11 billion resource for 5 billion ton reserve. They are operating some now current situation that they operate from the 32 IUP and 2 kontrak karya. Most of them operated in Sulawesi, Maluku, in Papua, and the current situation about the production in the current 2 years, the last 2 years, the total production passed more than 10 million ton per year after the export ban regulation implemented in Indonesia. Then, according to the simple calculation, if the whole smelter, 65 smelter established and operate in Indonesia, based on the process by pyrometallurgy with the air cap smelter, utilize the more than 1.7% grade of the nickel, and the hydromet is under the 1.7% nickel grade. The sustainability, the saprolite ore will be sustained for 14 years by the consumption of the nickel saprolite ore around more than 100 million ton per year. And then for the limonite, for the ESPA project, the consumption for the current project will be consumed about 28.5 million ton per year. It will be sustained for 100 years. So I think it's very long period to make a sustainability supply to fulfill the whole smelter that will be established in Indonesia. So that's the point about the outlook for the supply to fulfill the electricity vehicle in Indonesia, as well as the global market for the EV. So what is the impact for the nickel downstream policy for the Indonesia? I will show you briefly for the current situation about the implication of the impact of the nickel downstream. We can see here the value of mining and downstream product. After we conduct the nickel downstream, then the nickel ore already banned and there is no export for the nickel ore. And then we can see here the increase of these nickel products derivative that already export from the Indonesia increased significantly. And we can see here, the position, the ranking of this iron and steel in among the product that exported from Indonesia. And we can see another data about the comparison between the iron and steel value for export compared to the vehicle as what we call one of the important product that's exported from Indonesia. We can see here since 2020, the iron and steel export volume already passed the volume of the vehicle export from Indonesia. And we can see here how about the contribution from the taxes from the smelter industry to the government of Indonesia. The amount is increased significantly from 4.2 trillion in 2008 until 6.9 trillion in 2019. So I think the last is very important, how the government support to endorse, to encourage the nickel downstream and also to endorse the downstream industry, particularly for battery industry and also for electric vehicle. So I can show you briefly here about what kind of this product that can we utilize as a value-added value chain from the ore until the electric vehicle. We can see how about the pricing from $30 for nickel ore until very expensive here, and then from the multiplier increase about one time here until more than 470 times more value from the ore until the electric vehicle. So I think the government already provide some regulation from the upstream as well as downstream. We already implement the export ban according to the MEMR regulation 11/2019, and we also conduct some presidential decree for national strategic project to endorse the project for the nickel downstream. And also we implement this, what we call the HPN, the price reference regulation, according to to create the national domestic nickel transaction is a very fair situation. And also we prepare for the stakeholder tax allowance. And there is also the mandatory to make an obligation to create downstream inside the country according to the law number 3/2020. This is in the part, the upstream and to the midstream side from the smelting and refinery industry regulation. And for the downstream, for the EV industry and the EV battery industry, the government also already conducted the Presidential Decree number 55/2019. So I think it will be endorsed and encouraged to develop the climate conducive climate investment for the EV battery and EV industry. So by that facility and the regulation, we hope that the government can get some benefit, a good benefit from the upstream, intermediate, and the downstream, but by increasing the contribution to the PDB and also enlarging this job opportunity for the people of Indonesia. And also we can increase the tax contribution approximately to 1 billion per annum. So that's the whole my presentation, and finally is I can show you about how about the conclusion about the government perspective regarding in the nickel downstream. So I think the first one is nickel downstream. We can introduce the stainless steel first to encourage by utilize the NPI or the ferronickel product, and then the battery next is the right step to create a great added value for the benefit of Indonesia. That we know that Indonesia is the largest nickel resource and reserve in the world. So I think the government already put and conduct and create the regulatory and policy tools for this purposes. So the second is for the national interest, it needs to continuously develop and improve the national capacity such as technology, human resources, and investment, and also market. We have to create national investment and also enlarging the national market to receive the downstream product from the nickel industry, such as battery and also this electric vehicle. And we can take the optimizing the advantage of the nickel industry, nickel downstream import. So the third is we have to optimizing the upstream side, because of we have to increasing the amount and the quality information of the nickel resource and reserve in order to resilience nickel supply. It's very important to make to ensure the smelter investment in the midstream and to meet the growing demand for this nickel derivative product, and also taking golden opportunities for endorse Indonesia to become a global producer of the EV batteries, and also for the regional player for the electric vehicle in the future. So I think it's very important, and in the end, we think this country will continue to support the transition of the world energy toward the more environmentally friendly energy use in the future. So the last one, I think based on our topic, how about the sustainability supply of nickel to fulfill the nickel downstream? According to the data of Nickel Resource and Reserve Indonesia, the supply of nickel will meet the needs of the existing smelter. The 65 smelters, the aircap smelters or the ASPA project can be provided from the current production and the future production because of the amount of this resource and reserve is still used. So I think the resource is considered will be sufficient for the next several decades to come, particularly in the limonite. Under 1.7 can provide a lot of resource to make a feedstock to the ASPA project. That's all, everybody. Thank you for your attention. So I hope that my presentation is enough for you, and you can understand what I present on this topic. Thank you, Pak Stephen. Thank you all. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, Pak Tubagus. That was really good. It's very clear that the government has taken great steps and has achieved a wonderful status of the nickel market here. Very close to achieving 50% of world nickel supply. When you think back a few years ago, Indonesia produced 30% of world supply, but mostly in the form of raw ore exports. And now they will be achieving close to 50%.